it!
Ich habe mein Mikro ausgehabt. Nice. Egal. Wow. Ich hab's nicht gemerkt. Man muss es irgendwie so aufschreiben. Egal. Oh, ist das peinlich. Okay. Nicht so viel passiert. Remember you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital? Ah. It was related to the card you were holding. Miss Green. What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. From memory, I believe the card contained a note that reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. What does that mean? This has nothing to do with Duncan. Oh.
Excuse me.
So Shakespeare, do you have something to share with the court? To be or not to be? That is the question. Oh, pray forgive me, the great bard's words spring from within me with ne'er a thought. Don't tell me it's because you are possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? Hearing Miss Green's word a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps? Well, nice, sir, that's nothing at all. Presumably you know the name, though, Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you were both lodgers in the same house. I would it were so, but sadly nigh. Lodging be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows are rarely known to me. You haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours? Oh, Miss Green? Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong? The card that was mentioned before contained a note. Do you have it upon your person? I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really. Will you dispose of it? Your court will take it as evidence, please. Of course, that's what links Mr. Shakespeare and Miss Green. Miss Duncan Ross. Now, continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green.
Hold it!
Yes, you didn't regain consciousness until the day after the trial, did you? In the early hours. Exactly, so how could I have had anything to do with it? And yet, you still haul me in here to court like this, honestly. By the time of the poisoning, the witness was unconscious in her hospital bed. Would there be a more airtight alibi, I ask you? And yet, in spite of that, you claim that I was the culprit? Well, You certainly haven't produced any evidence to support your wild claim, have you? Not at all. There you have it. The good lady has yet to see evidence, my learned Nipponese friend. I'm working on it. Counsel, I will point out here that the jury's next decision will be final. I'm really up against the wall here. Oh, Mr. Naruto, you pursued Mr. Shakespeare wonderful there. It worked out well, hasn't it? We have a new clue at least. Alright, now I need to pull off a really insightful objection somewhere. Oh yeah. Well, as you have managed to expose this promising new angle, I wonder if you should perhaps try to develop that? Yes, of course, and yelling out objections isn't necessarily the best way to do that, I suppose. Nein. Aber es war kaputt gegangen und ich kenne diese Teile. Ah, this verb has been ripped open by the accuracy, hasn't it? Miss Green strikes me at the type of to open correspondence more neatly than that. Ah, what is it? The way the envelope is torn, I'm almost sure I've been the exact same shape somewhere else. Oh, you don't mean... Were you thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruto? Exactly, that's it. Try to mash him up. Well, they go together perfectly. The turn-off end of the envelope clearly belongs with this card. So. The Shakespeare? Yes, sire. On the day in question, is it not the case that you visit the Slug and Still at a place you don't normally patronize? For a very particular reason? I don't know what you are talking about. Pray, if you thou hast some proposed speaks. Very well, I will present a card with evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Still at the day, namely... I believe this card reveals the answer. Good lord, Miss Green card, you mean? That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 PM on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. The Shakespeare, the actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shakespeare? Well... Excuse me, can I say something? Yes, Miss Green? That card was delivered to me. Doesn't have anything to do with this odd man, does it? Well, You think so, yes, but it's hard to believe it's merely... My lord, may I? May you what, Miss Green? I'd like to make something very clear about that card. Very well then, you may end your testimony. Include details about the peculiar note. This note was delivered to me at my address. It's nothing to do with the odd man next to me. Oh, doch. Oh, doch.
Objection!
The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. And upon carrying out the instructions in this note, you found yourself in hospital. Yes, I did. It's terrible. Everything had happened to me. Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is. What do you mean? Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's the thorn of an envelope. Oh, is it? And it so happens that this fit together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received. Where did you find that? In Mr. Shakespeare's room. In my room? Mr. Shakespeare, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? Well, your actions that afternoon follow the instructions in the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Prayer Road at 5 PM on 17th. And so that's exactly who went. Ja, ich hab das echt nicht gemerkt. Ich guck dann so nach 18 Minuten mein Mikro. Ja, da passiert nichts. Ich so, oh nein, mein Mikro war komplett aus. Habe ich mich auch noch gefragt, reicht Nagare oder gibt es einen Spitznamen, wie ich nennen soll? Ich glaube, Nagare reicht hoffentlich. Oh Mann. Ja, okay. Ja, einfach 18 Runden hier geredet, ohne irgendwas zu machen. Was? Okay, also ist okay. Ja, okay. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shakespeare. You already knew about this note, didn't you? And you, Miss Green? What did I do? As the stone-off end of the envelope proves, the note was originally in Mr. Shakespeare's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession? I didn't have the first idea. I'm just a fledgling artist after all. There's only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shakespeare's room and stole it. You did what? Sorry, you don't just what? I mean, you were in my room? What on earth do you want with me? It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. Miss Green? Yes? Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you have endured in recent events, anyone found to be giving false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. Please bear that in mind. Yes, I know. Very well then, witnesses. You will give formal testimony again now. And the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received. Anomaly of the note. I remember now, it was a week ago, peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. On a day with therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note had vanished. I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? I can point out the villain here, and as for the torn off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it. You now claim you have received this letter to you, Mr. Shakespeare. Faith, this too, my lord, and I would swear that I have set it upon the table in my humbling lodgings. Yet, it is clear to me now that since I returned from the tavern at night, I have not laid eyes upon it. Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was a lie. Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think I'm the one lying. I beg your pardon? I'm just a fledgling artist, that's it, and fledgling artists don't lie. That note was delivered to me at my address, besides. We all know who the liar around here is. That's true, Miss Green. How do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Mr. Shakespeare's room. I don't see why I should explain. Sorry. I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened, that's all. The job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer. The fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth. Well, counsel, I'm ready, my lord. Very well then. Defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses. Miss Green clearly did break into Miss Shakespeare's room. Can be no question of that. That's how she acquired the note. Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to the possible explanation for all of this. And it's not a pretty one. I remember now, it was a week ago. Yeah. And can you shed any light on the contents of the note at all? Last, sire, this is as strange to me as a foreign tongue. Even with a knowledge of literature as great as mine own, verily, it is impenetrable. But Mr. Duncan Ross had lodgings in the same household as you. In effect, he was your neighbor, so surely you knew him, didn't you? If the choices be twixt, I knew him and I knew him not. And it's this foreboding that I be forced to declare we were by some small measure acquainted. By to claim, though, I followed the note's instructions and went to the slug and salad. Presumably that was nothing to do with your knowledge of literature. Merit not will have the better of me, sire, save for the lure of curiosity. So it is true, it was compelled by mine own eager heart to betake myself to the tavern. Yet in the end, my curiosity was not satiated. They were in minutes gekommen. So even after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared. Well, yes, sire, this as du sayest. Really? You paused for a moment before you answered. In truth, when thou asked whether nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall. Really? Do you mean to tell the court that somebody did appear after all? I was not alone that night in the slug and salad, my lord. No, it is returning to me now. I did treat my lips to utmost clear water, and mine innards to be premium crust of bread. And all around me dancing with many companions. What do you mean? Flies, sire, flies. Good lord. I'm the name of Beelzebub, what we dare. Various perchance from a midsummer night's dream come to taunt me. I think they were just flies. I can't help thinking that the flies ought to choose something more wholesome to pass around. Is that wrong of me? Nein, passt schon. Oh Mann. I did see the note that nicht, ja. When exactly did you notice it had gone missing? Such idle thoughts there occupy my mind. I'm busied with greater ideas. In other words, you didn't notice. Several days passed between your outing to the tavern and Mr. Tatsumi's visit to your room. Yes, it would appear that the note disappeared sometime in that interval. Such idle thought now occupy my mind. I am busied with greater ideas. And yet, during the time Miss Green was comatose in hospital, was she not? Really then, she could not have been stealing things from Mr. Shakespeare's room. Yes, of course. It's all some sort of misunderstanding. Isn't it, Mr. Prosecutor, sir? You have so far failed to give a satisfactory explanation as to how you came by the note. I'm not here to advocate for your defense, madam. I won't tolerate inconsistencies in your story. You will do well to remember that. Oh, dearie me. What's Lord Van Seeks getting at? It seems that this note was actually delivered to Mr. Shakespeare about 1 week ago. Does it? But for some reason it ended up in your possession. I can't think of any way that could have happened except for you breaking into Mr. Shakespeare's lodgings. Objection! But for what reason would the witness have done that? I won't deny that Mr. Green's possession of the note would appear to defy logic. However, until and unless her involvement in this case can be proven in some other way, and further pursuit of this note is meaningless. Miss Green could only have come to be in possession of this note by stealing it from Mr. Shakespeare's room. And yet, there is no obvious reason why she would have done such a thing. But if there was some other reason she broke into the lodgings though... Yes, we should pursue that idea, Mr. Naruto. We are close now, I can feel it. We are so close to a breakthrough. I can point out the will in here, and it's for the torn out. I don't know anything about it. Hold it! So you don't want to tell her the truth about the letter, is that it? I'm a fetching artist, remember? Artists are nearly always introverted characters. Introverted? Fair. This fletching indeed already casts aspiration about my nature. Yet I'm an angel, a seraph. Birds now harmonize with my song, the wind doth relic on my wing. Oh pity, wherefore thou do accuse one so pure of heart, ample woman? Pure of heart? I don't think so. Even a fletching like me can see you are just a failure. Tragedy, thou shalt not know the true heart of an artist until then instruction thereafter by death. All the days, all the years, others to enlighten thee, thou must wait so long and in vain. Mr. Naruto, interject with some clever remark. This is your chance to shine. I'm no Shakespearean actor, Miss Susato. No, as far as I can tell, the only thing that's going to resolve this argument is evidence. Yes. Dann geht's los. It's clear that Miss Green did in fact break into Mr. Shakespeare's room, isn't it? And that's where she found this letter. Yes, two more or less foregone conclusions that lead me to one terrifying conclusion. Terrifying? Yes, I'm afraid to say that the outcome of this cross-examination may well change how we look at this case completely. Warum? Oh, ich weiß, das stimmt. Nein, stimmt nicht. Okay. Ich glaube, ich weiß, was ich sagen will, aber ich weiß, wie ich das beweisen soll. Da muss ich mal durchgehen. Ich muss mir nochmal durchgehen. I don't know anything about it. Don't know anything about it.
Objection.
Nee, das stimmt auch nicht. Schade. Ich habe wahrscheinlich wieder irgendwas übersehen, was ich untersuchen muss.
Objection.
Einfach vielleicht viel zu einfach. Das wäre viel zu einfach gewesen.
Objection.
Als ob, doch wirklich. Okay. We said at the hospital we saw you with this bottle. And though the contents split during the course of your meeting, a small quantity remained. Das ist wird erst später gesagt werden. Okay. Ah. According to the defense independent analysis, Mr. Sholmes' chemistry said the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as strychnine. What? Strychnine? The very same poison that affected Mr. Shakespeare? Ah. Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings. One reason, and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shakespeare's room with poison. Can this be... You broke into my room? It may seem incredible to the court, but from the remaining clues, there's only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shakespeare's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green. Oh dear. Oh dearie. Me. Ow. Order. Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with the intent to kill? Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts. But if Miss Green did indeed set this odious trap 6 days ago, The victim had put his mouth to the pipe that evening as expected. The attempted murder would have been 6 days ago, surely. Well, that's a very good point. Perhaps not, my lord. I beg you, what? There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at the time. Lord Anzieks? And of course, the following morning there was more activity on Mr. Shakespeare's address. More activity? Ah, yes. You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder? That's right. And as the defense has already proposed, Mr. Shakespeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself. He caused the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant. But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In circumstances, Mr. Shakespeare has no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in a prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison in the pipe lay dormant. And then 2 days ago now, the situation changed again. Right, Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. Trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Queen in the back, but was duly acquitted. That resulted in Mr. Natsume's returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out, and Mr. Shakespeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present in the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room for some 4 days earlier. Mary! With that new understanding, it will become clear that this letter was all part of the plan. What plan? The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the slug and sell it at 5 o'clock, and that the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for these instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the state time. Make sure I wasn't home? Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green? Yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. Order! Order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive would be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we have heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that's what's behind all this. You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the take on the victim's life?
Take that!
Duncan Ross? That's right. Before the defendant, Ms. Natsume, took up residence in the lodgings at Mr. Garadep's, somebody else was renting the room, Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I heard the name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when a man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings. That does ring a bell. Of course, yes, I remember now. The young man, they claimed, was strangled by the convict curse or some such. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an incident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shakespeare's blowing. into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Ah. Huh. Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, occur with death, that's all people care about. If it's an interesting story, they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. Once they are bored, 1 month later, when the story lost its appeal, they once forgotten it. You mean you... Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shakespeare. But she knows exactly who you are all along. Because you are her sworn enemy, the murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry? Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact a revenge on Mr. Shakespeare, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe? This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties of counsel, each on different counts of murder? Yes, my lord, that's correct.
Objection!
Hiding so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend. Has taken a lungful of dubious gas. No. Taking a full lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shakespeare have wanted to kill the lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to prove a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, Malik. I have been slight. This lies, all lies, I deny every utterance. And you have to forgive me, Mr. Naruto, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either. Miss Green? I'm sure you will think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to send to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you broke into the man's room. You didn't do it to smear poison in the pipe. What was the reason? I thought I'd have a look around, that's all. Sorry. You're right, I suspected him. I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life. Or villains, or villainy, or tyranny, or what to the knee of woman. But in any case, when I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock. That whole place is falling apart. The locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door, with some tabs and a piece of wire. Oh, awfulness, or heartfulness, or tyranny, or profanity of woman. I will consider you trespassing on some future occasion. But for now, record what you found, what evidence your search revealed. Well, I spotted a note that I sent him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place. Yes, we also discovered a hiding place. That we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Ah, yes, well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty. What? There was something in it? Yes. This was a nice key. Ah! What are you doing with that? What the? Every ounce of color has drained from his face. Give it to me now. It's mine. I inherited it. What was it? What was that witness? You did. What did you say? You inherited it. No, What's all this about? You inherited the key? That key? It was obviously important to you since you'd gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me. I took something precious from you. What if it means you can't open something now? I don't care. Give it back. This mic, give it to me. Come, Mr. Witness. Mr. Shamesby has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, as motive for doing so, the key, everything that happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shamesby at first. But considering everything we know now, I think there is actually something that could explain it. What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal, everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I just caught a glimpse of the link runs through all of these events. In the case counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. Was ich das mache? Mal kurz eine Minute Pause. Noch gleich wieder da. So, weiter. The case counselor must demand that you present evidence in support of your claim. What is that you say can explain the motivation for Mr. Shamesby's alleged crimes? Das hier. That's an official police report, is it not? The Selden file? How did you get hold of that? The seller? Then now sadly the keys to Mr. Ross and the defendant Mr. Natsume. I have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. Well, yes, we know this certainly. A room that was formerly occupied by Sheldon. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see. And no burglaries? Ah nee. Ach, 18 Mal gestohlen, 6 Mal vielleicht gemordet, wow. And it so happened that the convict Sheldon left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. Some £1,000 worth of loot that they stole, which has yet remains to be found. Ah, yes, of course. It's coming back to me now. It's written in this file here. £1,000 lost and brought to hell. That was how the paper summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. Not hard to imagine Sheldon entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret. Location of the stolen loot, and perhaps the key. Unlock whether whatever contains the valuables were in. You mean this key is... The Shakespeare? It was you, wasn't it? You were all the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? This false charge, I tell you, it's a false charge. The name of the inmate who was with Sheldon at his death isn't noted in this file, but a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Sheldon hid his loot. So, it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shakespeare's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. He was let out of prison following Sheldon's death. He made immediately for Mr. Goldep's lodgings, in the hope of renting Sheldon's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice. Because of Sheldon's old room had already been let to somebody else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shakespeare subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. When he was successfully, somebody intended to inquire about switching into the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. Mr. Suzuki Natsume, defendant in this case no less. They decided to use the ploy with the gas again with new Mr. Shakespeare, this time to oust Natsume. All for one simple and ever-crisis case. A reason. To get your hands on the £1,000 of loot left behind by the dead convict. Okay. Looks like I'm gonna snuff it before they get to stretch me neck. Listen, I want you to have me load anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Here, this is the key. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in L, I guess. Shakespeare. This is mine. What did he just say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Mr. Shakespeare? It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Or should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence you can't prove I killed that fellow. Both thought I'm the victim here, remember? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me for the time being, anyway. Very well, you can arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close, I just need a few more hours. I thought to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. You really think I just give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty, through and through. But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he will never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruto. There's a way. Pardon? There is one way I can finish him. No! He's already committed the most heinous crime to get his hands on the loot. Which means all we need to do, find it first. Fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police truly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. But conclusive evidence I certainly cannot rule. If only there was some way we could find the comics loot quickly. The final piece of this complex puzzle. I think we might have it in our possession already. However, I think we may well have something that can help us find where that loot is hidden. My lord? Yes, the council? The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find that late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. Our last chance, so this has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we have used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then. Very well then, Council, let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place that the keys convicts all? Ja, gute Frage. Eine sehr gute Frage. Ich muss die Katze jetzt zeigen, aber ich kann es ja nicht hier machen. Was soll ich denn überhaupt damit machen? Gar nichts mit zu tun.
Take that!
Nein, das ist falsch.
Objection!
Mir fällt da nichts ein. Was könnte das denn sein?
Take that!
Nein. Okay, das ist es auch nicht. Warte. Ich hab schon geheim. Einen geheimen Ort gefunden. Aber was für, Herr, wie zeigt es denn dieser Beweis?
Take that!
What? Wirklich? If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shakespeare's handprints on the wall of his lodgings. That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense independent investigation of the scene. Based on a wonderful new discovery of the field of forensic science. The great detective, Mr. Jones. A great detective? Is it some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I think the great bird ought to recognize such a title when he hears one Mr. Shakespeare. Whereas he should compete for the honor of the most ridiculous title. This Sherlock Holmes himself. What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy back streets of the capital, are they not? Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. And I see your complexion was worse than since last we met. Mr. Holmes? He does know Lord One seeks them, but enough to say something like that in any case. Mr. Holmes, although you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large, it does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit. If I may, my lord, Mr. Holmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover weighted clues in this case already. Clues, you say? I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. Ah, okay, das... Wir suchen also den Ort, was oft angefasst worden ist, stimmt. It's the method by which we are able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. You need only a small sample of something the individual had previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding. Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruto. Yes? What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Suzaki-san's room. Need a sample to help locate Sheldon's loot that's hidden in the old room. How form will the sample take? Sample take. Oh, okay. Habe ich einen Beweis, der euch angepasst hat? Warte, der Schlüssel. Ist noch was dran? Das ist schwierig. Aber es kann sein. Ich frage, ob da noch was dran ist. We will need something of Sheldon's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. And something we convict some weapons happen to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruto, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain the possession of the late convict Sheldon to create the indicator solution?
Take that!
Miss Green? Me? What do you want with me? The key around your neck, if you please. Sorry? That key belonged to Sheldon. There will be remnants of secretion of the man's skin on its surface that we can use. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Sheldon touched in the room if that he used to rent. Shamson as one grade or to another, I assure you. If the late convict's hall is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. So, Mr. Shakespeare, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Sheldon's stolen wells. In that case, I will gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key. No, give the key to me. The detective shan't have it. It's over, Mr. Shakespeare. No. You are out of options now. Only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt. Oh, shameful spear. Despair. Wieder dein name. Oh. Ja. Das war's. I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room, that's all. I would have the time to find the recommended soul of stolen goods. Yet, after you killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was there 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. And the guy there really has not had a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then the Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume, what unfortunate timing. Then, 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road, when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I would finally have my chance, but it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day. And, if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, we once again tried the trick of blowing air the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap. William Shakespeare? How does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question. From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That's the answer. You deserve to die for what you have done. Ah. Ah. Oops. First, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died. The gas supply in my new lodgings are so complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas supply? Yes, the stove always seemed to go out in the middle of the night for some reason. That's no joke. They say it's the convict's curse. Oh, Duncan, please. Don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is. Alright then, if it's that important to you, I will start looking for a new place. There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight? No, I would better not. We said we'd wait until we'd graduated before we told our parents, remember? But it was the last time we ever spoke. Every night I feel victim to the gas, or he feel victim to the gas. If only I would know it was going to happen, I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. That instant? Well, instead, all I have been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school. But something kept drawing me back to the house on the Barry Road. I saw a stooped decent-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up to the road to grab probably for some food, so I followed him. And sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publican. This place is cursed, I tell you, cursed. The ghost of that convict who used his life there is trying to suffocate me. I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked, no problem there. Like, I'm the problem? That's what they are thinking. But how could that be? Duncan was gone, and... Now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Would it be really a curse? Then I remembered. A rumor I've heard about how these gas companies go around investigating the gas installations. A rumor? Ah, you mean... Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes. How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework. That's when it started. The little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident? No? Once I had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End. A black market? I'd never been. I'd just heard people talk about them, and you really can buy anything you can think of there. And in some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident? Or was it a murder? And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Mere poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. Mr. Shamespeare was innocent, nothing would come of what you had done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly. Yep. I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shamespeare. And then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 PM on 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It's all a matter of utmost importance. If he had done it, I knew that would worry him enough so he would be sure to go. I waited to see if it worked. And of course, Mr. Shamespeare followed the instructions to the letter. I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away, so I smeared a good amount of the poison I bought all around the mouth of the pipe, all the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done, and that this was just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done and that the culprit would get his just desert. Few years ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward. Yes, my lord. I certainly never imagined the depth of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponi's friend. Oh, yes. And one I certainly didn't envisage walking with you. Nevertheless, together, we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green? Yes, my lord. You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom, as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamespeare. Yes, I know. And you, Mr. Shamespeare, you will be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mrs. Sosumi Natsume, here present. Mr. Naruto? Yes? Yesterday, at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle, I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. It's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems. Well, personally, I'm glad of you being here, Miss Green. And I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamesby didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least. Because of you, I choose life, not death. And now you have made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green. Mr. Suzuki Natsume. Yes, my lord. The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty. We are in full agreement, my lord. In that case, I hereby declare the defendant not guilty. Ooh. Court is adjourned. On the 3rd February, 24 PM to Old Bailey, defendant and chamber. Yes, at last. Divine justice duly done. Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would have shaved that mustache. No, this has nothing to do with my mustache. I'll say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Holmes. Welcome, student Mr. Naruto's crier. Once again, you saved me from doom. Very happy to have been able to help, Miss Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. Your second in almost as many days. I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature while in our great homeland empire. And then, by a twist of fate, I was brought to the land that bore the fruit of the literature. Only the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, I confined myself to my room and lived life through the friendly old books. You had such a difficult time, haven't you? Ah, but a week ago now, I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not? You did, and I've seen more of life in this week than all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel I've begun to see that the true face of the English that so far had been hiding from me behind the wall of fog. My dear fellow, there's nothing special about the true face of English as you put it. First over, one goes in the world, humans are human. There are few genuine differences. Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We are all just doing our best to live. But as said, I've come to feel the same way. I've made a decision too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan. What? Just when we had become friends here in England? What a terrible shame. Oh, I know, this does nag at my heartstrings, it really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I've learned here in Britain and write something on my own. A novel of sorts, I suppose? Oh, you will be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume? How wonderful. Oh, well, no, I mean, I wouldn't presume to call it literature. Why not, when that is precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache? I suppose you're right, yes. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is that I'd like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur. As for one, would love to read your work. Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious from a battle with the Reaper. Oh, that's very true. And there's no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the persecutor. The desire to return post-haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand. My goodness, yes, faced with such a terrifying prospect? Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure. But that's not why I'm leaving, I mean it. Yeah. Objection! And that was the case that we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. Toki-san did indeed return to Japan and submitted a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading that report that Professor Mikotoba was prompted to visit the scholar. And barely any time later, Soto-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well. On the back of a telegram stating falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial on the following day. The day that we discovered the loot hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings. Was wird gefunden? 21st February, 13 AM, müssen wir zumindest room. Oh, well done, Mr. Jones. How simply marvelous of you to uncover the secret hiding place in just one day. Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? I believe I told you, my dear fellows, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson? Grexy had been happily munching an agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley. Happily, I think perhaps humorously might be closer to the truth. So it inspires the man fashioned in hiding place in a sailing. And what's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let us look then, if you're ready. Let's examine the late burglar's hall. Okay, was ist drin? What is that? Looks to be some sort of neckband or collar. A collar, it's huge though. And it looks at the gemstone set in it. Can't see why it's claimed to be worth £1,000. Perhaps I could have it as a belt? Oh, have you noticed in the inside there? There are some dark stains. You don't think it could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it. Second thoughts, perhaps I won't have it as a belt. Then, of course, there's this emblem there. Large letter B and a small crown. What does it signify, do you think? Oh, I had noticed that. I feel as though I've been somewhere before. Baroque 1-6? You know, where could it have been? Isn't enough of that, I think. What? What's the matter with Mr. Jones? All the color has drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, oughtn't you? It couldn't be valuable evidence, after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key. Yes. Get your grubby hands off that, you lot, and hand it over, now. Uh-oh. I'd never seen a collar that large before. And all these jewels certainly looked to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out the most to me. At least not once I noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar, those stains, would they really have been blood? Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? but it's all buttoned up now. And you look very pleased, Iris. I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis of this month's story in the magazine. But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating. We're talking about the latest installment of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I presume? The mystery of the knife in the mist and the mustached man in the convict's curse, perhaps? Could make it a two-part story. I can't wait. A word, please, Iris. Yes, what is it, Hurley? I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question. Why not? It's a great case. Then I shall have no insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. Second must never be written. That's clear. Yes.
And so it was that the second of Souseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
Ende des zweiten Falls, des zweiten Spiels. 3 sind noch da. Und ich hoffe, ich schaffe es die Woche. So, dann war es erstmal für jetzt. Ich muss noch unsere Sachen vorbereiten, wird heute Abend dann weiterspielen. Nice. Dann ist Episode 3 dran. So. Dann beende ich es mal kurz und mal wegen Hosten. Da habe ich auf jeden Fall jemanden. Genau, verabschiede mich erstmal. Und dann bis zum nächsten Mal.